Greetings, everyone. Welcome to week 2 of the semester. The work that we're going to do this week is basically the preliminary work for our first major essay project, Essay 1, and the summary response. The task before us is summary response, which means that we're going to be engaging a text and writing an essay that both sort of conveys what that text is about and responding. And responding personally, not necessarily just responding with loose opinions, but actually trying to make connections. So over the next couple of weeks, we're going to more or less take it piecemeal. We're going to tackle one task at a time. And so this week's content that you should already see posted and the discussion post and the quiz will all sort of be about just kind of grapple with the text that we're reading and work toward beginning a decent summary for our essay. And summary is only part of the task. If you look through the prompt, which is linked in the announcement, you'll see a you'll see an outline that basically sort of describes how the essay should flow. I highly recommend that you follow that. It's not impossible to write a good essay not following it, but I am looking for specific skills to be sort of on display. And one of those is the idea that you can absorb a text, process it, and then kind of retell it in your own way to somebody who may never have encountered the text before. Your reader, as it were. You're not necessarily writing to me, Professor Murphy. You're writing to the reader, anybody who might walk down the hall and see a, carelessly dropped copy of your draft and can pick it up and read it and enjoy it. That's always going to be the goal of these essay assignments. So the text that we're reading is David Foster Wallace's This Is Water. This Is Water is not really the official title, or at least not the original title. It is a commencement address that was delivered to a liberal arts college called Kenyon College in Ohio. And it's gotten a lot of recognition and acclaim in the years since it was delivered for being rather poignant about what the purpose of education is, the purpose of going to college, the purpose of, trying to become he uses the phrase, well-adjusted person that you hope to be as an adult. And so it's directly applicable to, what your goals in college are doing. I know you probably conceive of yourself going to college and getting a job and just sort of living a comfortable life, but he more or less talks about what actual adult living is like, going to a job every day, fighting traffic every day, all those kinds of things, and how education can help you with that as well. Not just necessarily get the job, but as he calls it, to live a meaningful existence where you're not a slave to the grind, a slave to your own head, that sort of thing. So the text is already available. I've also included a few odds and ends about David Foster Wallace. There's also a handful of notes just about the task of summarization. But I really want to sort of emphasize one thing, which is before you can really summarize, and certainly before you can respond, it's important that you allow yourself an opportunity to just experience the text. Don't necessarily think about reading this speech for the purpose of writing an essay. Read this speech at least once before you set forth to the diligence of the task. Just kind of let it wash over you. He's presenting you with ideas that you may have not encountered before, may not have thought about before. Your responses do not have to be, positive or negative. They don't have to be glowing praise for everything he says, and they don't have to be harsh critiques as well. They can, be honest representations of how you feel about the things he says in the speech. This is the task before you, but of course, in order to kind of get to those things, in order to arrive at those general feelings and those ideas, recognizing whether it's challenged you and speaking about that, you have to kind of give yourself a chance to really hear what he has to say. And so I would encourage, before you even pick up a pen to make notes or sit down and start writing your response, to just sort of let what he says wash over you. There is a link to an audio recording of David Foster Wallace delivering the speech. So if you're reading it and you are finding certain things hard to understand, or you just want to hear how it came out of his mouth the first time, so you can kind of apprehend it a little bit better. You can do that. There's a link to a YouTube video with that recording in course content. There are I kind of recommend that you maybe do it once at least, because there are moments in the transcript of the text where he stops to address something that's happening in the crowd, or he makes a little aside, or he tells a joke and you can hear the audience laugh, and it may be a little confusing if you're just reading the text, but if you are listening along and catch those moments, it might help you just sort of understand what's going on. So I do recommend that. But the goal this week is just to read the text and kind of be able to process it and wrap our minds around what it is he's saying. And so going along with just perusing the prompt for the essay and looking at the notes, read the text. There's a discussion post where it's asking you to summarize the text. It's not necessarily going to be a paragraph that ends up in your essay per se, but just a first opportunity to just kind of talk about maybe not just what he says, but how he says it, how it comes across. Not really looking for responses just yet. We'll talk about that next week. And then, of course, there's a reading quiz to go along it. With most reading assignments, there will be reading quizzes. So the work before you is read the text, discussion post number 2, and reading quiz number 2. As always, if you have any questions, just let me know. Shoot me an email or holler at me during my virtual office hours. Otherwise, good luck, have fun, and see you next week.